Hey guys, it's Clara. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'd like to share with you 2 tips that I like to use to follow the Whole30. If you don't know what the Whole30 is and you're interested, please go ahead and check out some of the links below. The Whole30 has been around for a few years now, so there's lots and lots of information out there on community forums, on Facebook, on Snapchat, on Instagram. They have a website that you can get the program for free. There's books about the Whole30. Not saying the Whole30 is for everybody, but if you are interested, I will be doing a few videos about some tips I like to use. Plus, I will continue to do grocery hauls and meal plans as I have before, but I will tailor them to a family where one person is following the Whole30, but the rest of the family is not. So if you're in that kind of a situation, those videos might be helpful to you. Okay, so of all the tips that I have to follow the Whole30, these 2 are my favorite. And I was going to do a countdown to my favorite 2 tips, but I figured if you're doing the Whole30 right now, if you're doing the January 2017 round, you probably want to know these right now. So my number 1 tip, and this has to do with the Whole30, this has to do with meal planning, this has to do with any kind of nutrition plans that you might follow, is food prep, food prep, food prep. I know that's probably a tip that you've heard a billion times, but the way that I tailor it towards the Whole30 is a little bit different than I have before. Food prep for me, for the Whole30, isn't just chopping a bunch of vegetables and chopping a bunch of fruit. I definitely have that. But while I'm doing that, I also have potatoes in the oven that I'm baking. Sometimes I'll also roast veggies at that time, like a ton of them. And I'll eat a portion of that for Sunday, and then I'll continue to have that for the next few days. Definitely roasted vegetables taste the best right out of the oven, but it's definitely still nice to have cooked vegetables already done and still have kind of that roasted taste later on in the week. And with the baked potatoes, really, I put that in any kind of meal. So that might be in some omelets, that might be as an actual baked potato as a side to salmon or a side to some chicken breast. I might take the baked potato and chop it up and then heat it up in the pan with a little bit of tagine seasoning or some onion powder. That way it is really almost ready to go, and it is super fast to make some of those dishes. Also at that time, while I have that stuff in the oven, I'll also have some eggs boiling on the stove. So eggs, again, those are for any kind of meal. They could be a really easy and fast way to get some protein as breakfast. So if you're running out the door and all you can grab is a tomato and a hard-boiled egg, or maybe an apple and a hard-boiled egg, a banana. And speaking of breakfast, sometimes too at the meal prep time, I will have a quiche in the oven as well. And it's a Whole30 compliant quiche, and that will usually last me maybe 3 breakfasts, maybe 5. And you know, I just divide it up. You could even make that and then pre-portion it out into reheatable containers and take it with you to work. Another thing I do during that meal prep time, sometimes I will brew peppermint tea. Peppermint tea is my favorite right now. I just can't get enough. And what I do is I warm brew it. I put a bunch of bags in, I let it cool overnight, and then I have a bunch of peppermint tea to drink throughout the week. So what I do is I pick a day and I pick a time of the day. For me, it works to do it Sunday evening, because by that time I have gone grocery shopping. I usually have filmed by then and have filmed my meal plan and all that, and I don't feel as distracted by things as I would in the middle of the week. I set aside 30 to 60 minutes depending on what I'm planning to do for that week. I ask Aria's dad to watch her so I can have some time to myself. And this is kind of me time. I know that seems a little odd, but Truly, you know, I have my laptop next to me on the kitchen counter. I put on Netflix or I put on YouTube and I just listen to videos while I'm doing it, or I'll watch an old episode of Friends or a movie that I really like, and I just kind of go to town and get it all done. My second tip isn't too earth-shattering, but it is so vital to staying on the Whole30 in my opinion, and that is to experiment a little bit with different seasonings. I know, boring, boring, boring. Some of the seasonings I'm talking about are very easily accessible. One of my favorites right now is called Tagine seasoning, and if you are of Hispanic heritage or love Hispanic food, love making it at home, you might already know what this is. I have seen it at Kroger, I have seen it at Aldi, I've seen the seasoning everywhere. A lime chili seasoning that you could pretty much put on anything, and I don't just really like it on dinners and chicken and sometimes salmon. I also really like it on eggs actually, and I'll put it on the breakfast quiche. I will put it even on fruit, and it is, oh, it is so delicious on fruit. Tagine seasoning on watermelon, try that. That is absolutely delicious. Also very common in the Whole30 world is the coconut aminos. I'm sure you've heard of that if this is not your first Whole30 video, but it's something that's found in a lot of health food stores. I pretty much use it as a replacement for soy sauce. It tastes almost exactly the same, except it's just a touch sweet. So in a dish like Filipino adobo, where it's chicken legs, red wine vinegar, salt, and black pepper, that's it. Oh, and garlic. I'll use a touch less just because of that slightly sweet taste, but I will tell you, most people don't even notice that sweet taste at all. Another flavor that I really have been kind of ignoring this whole time in cooking is citrus. I've been using citrus in drinks and stuff, but citrus almost on anything. So, you know, I recently made a garlic shrimp dish, and it had red peppers in it. It was just kind of like flat. It had kale, it had mushrooms, but it just needed a little something. Added a little bit of lemon juice, and wow, the whole thing changed completely. I use a lot of Frank's Red Hot on stuff, so that'll be with some shredded chicken to make buffalo chicken wraps on lettuce, or make tuna boats. Another thing that is very common on the Whole30 is almond butter and cashew butter, and usually people talk about that in relation to their snacks, so eating that with apple slices, for example, but specifically I'm talking about using that in cooking. And you could put that in stir fries. You have to be careful not to go too crazy because it is still a lot of fat. Even just a tablespoon can work wonders for a stir fry dish. And speaking of seasonings and spices, make sure to watch out on your taco seasoning. I didn't know until I followed the Whole30 last spring that a lot of taco seasoning has cornstarch in it and sugar. I had learned that taco seasoning is actually not that hard to make. I did a blog post about it, about what kind of spices I like to use in my taco seasoning, but it is so ridiculously simple. And even on those individual spices too, you know, even if you've been using certain brands of spices forever, like McCormick or Stonewall Essentials from Aldi, etc., make sure to really look at the label at the back, because it's not uncommon for companies to start to change the formula a little bit. So it might taste exactly the same, but they might be adding sugar, they might be adding some other stuff in there. So that is really it for this video. I have a few other tips coming your way as far as following the Whole30. If you have any tips or tricks that you would like to share, please do so. And as always, thank you so much for watching, guys. Take care.